And in 2019, you tweeted this about Donald Trump, who's now, of course, a Republican nominee again to be president. The president's a white nationalist terror leader. His supporters, all of them, are by definition white nationalist terror supporters. The MAGA hat is a KKK hood, and his evil racist scourge must be eradicated from society.
In this video, Dennis Prager joins Piers Morgan on his show, Piers Morgan Uncensored. Joining Dennis Prager on the show is left-wing moron Reza Aslan that tweeted that all Trump supporters are white nationalists and racists. With that, let's watch Dennis Prager wreck this idiot for his unhinged tweet.
Humanistic expression.
Okay, look, let me just pivot slightly, which is you mentioned rhetoric, Reza, and in 2019, you tweeted this about Donald Trump, who's now, of course, a Republican nominee again to be president. The president's a white nationalist terror leader. His supporters, all of them, are by definition white nationalist terror supporters. The MAGA hat is a KKK hood, and his evil racist scourge must be eradicated from society. I mean, on reflection, do you regret that tweet?
You know, first of all, let me say, I regret every tweet I've ever made, which is why I've given up on Twitter for now 14 months. Twitter is a cesspool, and I wish I had never been on it.
The tweet is a cesspool.
The president of the United States.
Your tweet was a cesspool.
Twitter is a cesspool as far as I'm concerned. But let me just make one thing clear.
Your tweet was a cesspool.
The president of the United States, the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, is demonstrably and objectively a racist, sexist, lecherous, fascist, sociopath and pathological liar who has dehumanized his political opponents, who's called his political opponents vermin, who has called immigrants, undocumented immigrants into this country, not people, and who has literally quoted Hitler. Hitler, Mr. Prager, literally quoted Hitler by talking about the poisoning of the blood of our nation.
Is that enough of a taste for you to understand how unhinged this guy is? So let's go through his accusations. So he said he called his political opponents vermin. If I'm recalling this correctly, I believe he was talking about communists, socialists, far left-wing radicals in the country. And he said something like, we'll root out those vermin. Didn't Joe Biden call all of Trump supporters garbage? And didn't Hillary Clinton call all of Trump supporters basket of deplorables? So wanting to root out communists and far left extremists and calling them vermin is a bad thing? Got it. Called illegal immigrants not human. Again, classic tactic of the left. What he was referring to was murderers, rapists, gang members. And he said something like, you know, in Trump speak, in a lot of cases, they're not human. As a matter of fact, I don't think they are human, or something like that. Talking about evil criminals coming into our country unvetted. And he quoted Hitler. Do you know how effing dumb that is? Maybe he'll tell us how he quoted Hitler, but everyone every day probably quotes Hitler. I'm sure Hitler said good morning to people. I know I said that today. I mean, does that mean I'm quoting Hitler? Do you understand without giving a specific example? And he can't, I guarantee if he does try to back that up, it'll be taken out of context. Context matters. What did he say matters. It's so stupid. I mean, this guy's really off his rocker. Like he's like a caricature of what we think of extreme leftists, you know? And just to be clear, this guy didn't leave Twitter because it's a cesspool. He left Twitter because clearly he has a self-control problem, because he really didn't answer whether he regrets that tweet or not. But I think he does. Twitter is a cesspool in some respects, but it's a cesspool because of guys like him. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
His followers, his MAGA followers, have made it very clear, objectively so, that their loyalty is not to the Constitution or to the democracy of this country, but to
Reza,
this
you're
man,
effectively calling. I mean, nearly 80 million people voted for Trump in 2020. That was nearly 10 million more than voted for him in 2016. So a lot of people in America vehemently disagree with you. Are you really saying, as you said in that tweet,
there's a lot of reasons to vote for Donald.
Are you really saying that 80 million Americans are white nationalist terror supporters?
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the MAGA, his MAGA.
You said his supporters, all of them.
I'm talking about
all of them.
You asked me a question. You've asked me.
Right,
You've
but
asked
his
me a question.
supporters.
I'm trying to answer it.
Okay, let me be accurate.
I'm
You said
trying
his
to answer
supporters. His supporters, all of them, are by definition white nationalist terror supporters.
I should have said his MAGA supporters. We have a better term for it now than we did in 2019. That's who I was referring to. And that I 100% stand by. If you support a racist, you are a racist. You support racism. If you support a fascist, you support fascism. This is not complicated.
But aren't you using?
I
will come, Dennis. I'll come to Dennis in one moment. I'm just curious, Reza, because you really were very reactionary when you thought Dennis was basically calling Palestinians as a group, inferring that they were all to blame for what's happening over there.
Yeah, that they
and
were
yet
all
you were,
terrorists,
and yet you were,
killing-
and yet
killing-
you were very quick to blame all Trump supporters and brandish them in the same way. Isn't there an inconsistency there?
First of all, I'm not talking about Trump supporters as slaughtering innocent people, but I am making it very clear, and I don't apologize.
Well, you said white
for
nationalist
this
terror
fact.
supporters.
Donald Trump.
So this dummy just said that he's not talking about Trump supporters slaughtering innocent people. And I guarantee you, whatever they're referencing from earlier in the interview, that again, this guy took it out of context because he's a sensitive snowflake. Dennis Prager isn't that kind of guy. He wouldn't make a suggestion like that all of one group of people are terrorists or whatever. What he did say, though, about Trump supporters is that they should all be eradicated. Isn't that just another word for ending all of their lives? I mean, I'd argue that's significantly worse than him taking something Dennis said out of context. And I love when Piers says, wait, so you're saying that half the country is racist and white nationalist? And he goes, no, that's not what I said. And he goes, all right, let's be clear. He put in all caps in his tweet, all of them. That's exactly what he said. How do people like this get a platform? Is it just because they say ridiculous stuff? I guess that's the reason. They say stupid things. Piers knows he'll say inflammatory stuff and it'll be good clips. But as much as I rail on the left, I always think guys like this that are just this insane are pretty few and far between. But he is definitely one of the craziest with the comments he makes. By the way, this guy had his own TV show at one time on CNN, and he went to India with some like small isolated tribe there, and he like took part in their customs. The dude, this guy Reza Aslan, he ate human brain. Did you hear that? He ate human brains. So I don't know if he's someone that anyone really wants to be taking political advice from. Just my opinion. Let's get back to the video.
A white nationalist. He is a supporter of white national terrorism, which is why he wants to completely forgive and pardon all of the J6 supporters who are in prison for insurrection and for violently attacking police officers. He is repeatedly used rhetoric in order to support, and his followers very much agree with those viewpoints.
All right, let Dennis respond.
Okay.
So,
first of all, he's not a racist. Okay, he's not a racist. He's not a white nationalist.
He's not a racist.
Not a neo-Nazi. He is not a racist. That is correct.
He's not a white
He
nationalist.
couldn't care less about race. That is correct. He is not. The charges are despicable. The man was president for 4 years. The country was way freer in terms of freedom of speech, the most important freedom of all, than under Joe Biden and the Democrats. The man governed for 4 years. Did America become fascist? This is a gigantic lie, and that is the reason
let me
I
ask you,
say
Mr. Prager,
every day on my
if
show,
President Biden called you vermin, how would you think about that? What does it mean when you call your political opponents vermin?
Yes.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
He didn't call all his political opponents vermin. And by the way...
No. He said Marxist, communists, the people on the left, vermin. Explain that to me. Explain that to me.
So fine, I'll explain it. The left wishes to destroy Western civilization, not liberals and not conservatives.
Oh, we do. That's right. We want to destroy Western civilization.
You're the people. So let me ask you something.
That's my goal.
I'll just give you one little thing.
When this conversation's over, I'm going to continue my process of destroying Western civilization as you know it.
Do you believe that there are two sexes or more than two sexes?
I believe that gender is what a person wants it to be.
Okay, fine.
I believe that people have the ability to decide.
And civilization. Okay, good.
Really? How many genders are in the Bible? How many genders are in the Bible, Mr. Prager?
What about the Bible? What
How
about
many
the
genders
Bible?
are in the Bible?
2. And God
No, I mean,
created
will you tell
Adam,
me what is
male
it?
and female, he created them. I'll quote it to you in Hebrew if you want.
I've seen this full clip prior to watching it here, and they go on there. This guy claims that the Bible, which Dennis Prager is an expert in, suggests that there are 6 genders. Then it turns out that he's referring to the Talmud, which I think I looked into it, and even if I didn't, I'm 99.999% sure that that's not true of the Talmud either. But he got busted just flat out lying. How many genders in the Bible? 6. He sounds like a real scholar if he doesn't know the difference between the Talmud and the Bible. Yeah, and when guys like this, want to distort the truth and change the meaning of everything, like, the kind of litmus test that Dennis Prager just gave him about men and women, whether knowingly or unknowingly, what they want to do is put an end to Western civilization, without question. All these people do is complain. They never build or progress. Even if some of these people call themselves progressives, it's a joke. But we want to hear from you. What do you guys think of this complete nut job? Let us know. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.